there's two kinds of action. One is obvious. You want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school. You want to be a realtor, you got to get a license, But there's also what we call inspired actions, which is when you're meditating or you're visualizing, you're focusing on, you're thinking, you're obsessed with an idea, whatever. What happens is you start getting these downloads. You could be in the shower, you could be laying in bed, you could be driving to work. You'll get this idea of like, oh, I need to do that. Whatever that is, do it.
I'm super excited for today's video because it's an interview with my mentor, my coach, Jack Canfield. For those of you that don't know Jack is the founder of the billion-dollar brand, Chicken Soup for the Soul, featured teacher in the movie The Secret, and New York Times bestselling author of The Success Principles, How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. He's also known as America's #1 success coach, has been featured on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday series, and has sold more than 500 million books worldwide. So without further ado, let's welcome Jack Canfield.
What's up, Jack? It is a gift and an honor to have you as a guest today, and I look forward to this powerful, soul-filled conversation we're about to have today.
Well, I look forward to it too. I always love hanging out with you. You know that.
So I just gave the audience a quick bio of who you are and what you do. And so my first question is, what was the inspiration behind writing The Success Principles?
I was in bed with my son, who was about 7. It was a Sunday morning. We're sitting there. I'm typing in my computer, and he's playing some video game of his. And he stopped and he said, "Dad, how come our house is bigger than all the houses of my friends' parents' houses?" And I said, "Well, Christopher, it's probably because I make more money." And he said, "Well, why do you make more money?" And so I said, "Well, because I live my life by these success principles." I started talking to him about them. He listened to the first 2 or 3, and then like a 7-year-old, he got bored. And so, but then I was thinking of it, what are all the principles I know? So I literally, for the next hour and a half, just wrote down 100% responsibility, taking action, having goals, making them specific, responding to feedback, having a mastermind group, having accountability. I just went, and I ended up with about 114 of those. So I thought, well, I could write a book about these. And so I thought 3 pages of principle, have a 300-page book. That'd be great. Well, unfortunately, the first principle I wrote was like 100% responsibility. It took about 12 pages. So all of a sudden I was going to have this mammoth book. So I boiled it down to about 64. And we revised it later, 67 principles. But that's basically how it came into being. But I had been teaching this for 20 years, in different ways. So it was kind of teaching what I knew, writing what I knew. So it wasn't that challenging.
My second question is, out of all those principles, what would you say is one of the top ones that can make a significant change in a person's life? Obviously, all of them can, but what is that one for sure?
Well, let me ask you a question. If you could only keep one organ in your body, which one would you keep?
My heart?
Well, without your lungs, it would...
Exactly. I have no idea. I need all of them. Right.
So
I
don't think you need all 67 that are in my book. They're all helpful, but there's probably about 10 or 15 of them that are valuable. But I would say the first one, and fundamental and foundational, is take 100% responsibility for your life, which means giving up blaming, complaining, excuse making. And that's a hard one for people. Because, you want to blame your parents, the culture, racism, feminine, all these things, sexism, mean people, that guy who fired you, whatever. And at some level, you could probably feel justified by all that, but it doesn't get you where you want to go. And as I put in the first chapter, there's a formula called E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. And what we want are better outcomes. Everything we want to feel happy, joyful, proud, satisfied, rich, wealthy, healthy, relational, whatever, is an outcome of how we responded to an earlier event. And we're the one who responded. We're responsible to change the response till we get what we want. Most of us, when we don't get what we want, blame the event. It's Obama, it's Trump, it's, the economy, it's whatever. And so the reality is that's, I think, fundamental to everything. And then you have to know what you want, like decide what you want. And even if you're wrong, you get there and you go, well, that doesn't satisfy me. At least you now know that isn't it, but you have to decide something. And I always say, trust your gut feelings. What do you want to do? What do you love? What lights you up? What makes you happy? So you find the thing that turns you on and then figure out how you can pursue it, so that's a big piece of it. And then turn that into a vision, goals. You and I know about affirmations, affirm what you believe, what you want. Imagine you already have it. Feel the feelings of having it. Take action, respond to feedback. persevere, don't give up. Those are critical things. I think having a mastermind group, those I think are the big ones.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What would you say are some of the biggest lessons you've learned up to this point in your life?
I'd say one of the things I learned is that whatever I think about, I bring about. And that was a hard one for me. I was sitting reading a book in graduate school called Seth Speaks. There was this channel who was channeling this person named Seth, or being named Seth. And Seth said, whatever you think you can create. Then I thought, what if I create the wrong thing? I went into all this like layers and but whatever you're thinking, you're going to create, And so then I thought, well, wow, I can create anything. That's amazing. And then it's like, well, what do I want? Then it was like, what should I want? And I had layers and layers to let go of to where I could get down to what do I really, really, really want. And I really wanted to do this work and teach it and have support teams around me, have a place where I could do it. So I've always had either a place with a retreat center or a place where I could rent, hotels and things like that. But that was both scary and also exciting. That was a big lesson to me because I didn't believe that going into graduate school. I think another thing was that you're going to survive everything that ever happens to you. Think about this. Everyone listening and watching this, you have survived everything that ever happened to you. So we are survivors. And the fact that we often think that this thing's going to kill me, I can't do that. I'll never be able to have a relationship again. I'll be out on the street and homeless. All these limiting beliefs we have. But none of that has ever really showed up. I failed a few times. So what? When you learn to walk, you fail every time you fall down. And nobody beats you up about that. It's just you get up again. So I think perseverance is another big one that I've learned. And I think a friend of mine wrote a book recently called Who's in Your Room? And the idea is like everyone you let into your life is pretty much there permanently. So be real careful about who you let in and, who do you marry? Who do you become friends with? Who do you do business with? Take that seriously. Do they share your values? Do they share your ethics and so forth? I went down a lot of bad roads with trusting people I shouldn't have. I didn't trust my intuition. Let's put it that way. Now I've learned it. I call my wife my intuition. She always tells me that person's not good. So we have this thing called an inner guidance system, which expands when you're on track and contracts when you're not. And Inga's my wife's name, so we call it Inga's guidance system. We listen to her.
I love that.
Yeah.
Based on all the top entrepreneurs, authors, thought leaders, coaches, and high performers you've worked with, what would you say are some of the common qualities that make them great?
Well, some of the things we talked about, they believe they can do it. They have a desire to bring something into being that didn't exist before. So they're creative. And it doesn't have to be majorly creative. You can just take this and this and put them together into something new. So they're willing to take risks. They're willing to fail. They listen to feedback. They tend to be good leaders, visionaries. They walk their talk. Like we don't want to follow people who are not walking their talk. So I think that's a big thing that I've noticed about them. Almost everyone I've met that's super successful, and I didn't expect this at first, but they meditate. And, I do, and I know you do, but I didn't know that so many people did. I moved us forward to a couple of books last year. It was like 2 years ago. One was called The Billionaire Secret, and the other one was Almost a Billionaire. And The Billionaire Secret, this guy interviewed 21 billionaires. It took him 3 years to get to them, let alone interview them. Hard to get to. 21 different industries, 21 different countries. Every one of them meditated. Every one of them got up early in the morning. I know you'd become a member of, I think, the 3 a.m. club. The 5 a.m. club is about as far as I'm willing to go. But all of these guys got up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. By 8 or 9, other people are getting out of bed. They'd already made deals, exercised, read, made phone calls. So I think that early morning rising thing seems to be a piece of it for people. Willingness to build a team around you and to entrust them, to empower them and trust them. And obviously you want to pick well and so forth. But a lot of people think they have to do everything and they never trust anyone else. So they become the logjam that doesn't allow things to move. And I would say a certain level of fearlessness, a certain level of courage to just get out on the front, like hanging 10 on the surfboard. You got to be out ahead of the curves, which is another thing I see, that they see trends coming. And it's like surfing. If you don't start paddling before the wave gets there, you miss the wave. And so if you don't see the trends coming, whether it's a recession or cryptocurrency or maybe the end of cryptocurrency, whatever it is, you're going to get hit by the way. So I think people that are, they study, they tend to study, and they read a lot. I've seen that as well. Or if they're not a reader, some of my friends who are super successful aren't readers, but they're listening, podcasts and books on tape and so on and so forth.
What would you say is a new belief, behavior, or habit that has helped you over the past year?
Something I learned from Robin Sharma. You familiar with Robin Sharma?
Yeah.
I saw this in a newsletter a couple of months ago, and it's called the 90-90-1 rule. Do you know about that?
I saw a YouTube video on it, but
Yeah.
please break it down.
Yeah,
Please
it's
break
like
it down.
if you pick your number one goal, and for 90 days, the first 90 minutes in the morning, you focus on that goal, taking actions that will get you to that goal. And I read it and I thought, that makes a lot of sense, because what I know for sure is there's this thing called willpower fatigue, that if you don't get it done in the morning, as the day goes on, things come up, you're tired, you get home, whatever, and you're not doing it. You don't go to the gym, you don't work out, you don't write for an hour, whatever. So I had been not getting books done that I needed to get done since the pandemic started. I didn't do it for a while. So I started in the morning, I exercise and eat first, and then I do the 90 minutes of working on my books and getting a lot done. And so I was putting it off to the end of the day, and then the day would kind of crowd out that. So 90 minutes for 90 days in a row, most important thing, work on that. The other thing the research is now showing is that the human brain kind of works in these 90-day segments. We think of the seasons are 90 days, and some of the best ongoing workshops and coaching programs are 90 days. No accidents. If you make it go too far, like I have this goal for the year, it's so far out there, but if I have this goal, it could be half of the goal for the year or a third of the goal, but it's like, it's got to happen in 3 months. It's much more immediate. And so I work on it. So anyway, that's probably the biggest thing I've learned. Another thing is this woman named JJ Virgin, who is a nutritionist, taught me an exercise where you're standing and you do like these standing squats 10 times. And then you take your hands and you go like this 10 times from your waist. And then you go this 10 times. And then your hands are down and you go like this 10 times. And you do that 3 times in a row. So anyway, it gets your nitrous oxide up. So you feel more energy, you're more alive. And so that's on my list of things to do 3 times a day. So I used to eat a snack around 3 o'clock. That didn't help my weight. Now I do this instead. And I feel more energized and alive, and I'm more flexible. And so all good stuff.
So you being one of my mentors that have taught me many things, one of them being the law of attraction, what can people do so that the law of attraction works in their favor as it relates to achieving their goals and their dreams?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question the way you did, because most people say, what can you do to make the law of attraction work? The law of attraction is always working. So how do you make it work in your favor? The main thing is keep your focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So if you're complaining about how bad things are, if you're bitching and moaning about your wife, your employees, your parents, whatever, your friends, the government, all of that stuff, watching the negative news that goes on every day, you're focusing on what you don't like. News in general is all the bad stuff that happened. Planes fell out of the sky, wars continued, people robbed the gas station, the storm was awful, mostly things you can do nothing about anyway. So focus on what you want. I would say also begin to explore your limiting beliefs. One of the biggest problems for people is their limiting beliefs are unconscious. They don't know they have them. They usually are formed between 3 and 8 years old. So if you can work with someone, whether it's through self-hypnosis or hypnosis or the belief change work I teach and you've learned to do as well, about going back to this time when you felt this certain feelings, that whole process we do. So you can surface that belief, look at it, see how it's limiting you, choose a better belief, install that, and then basically your life changes as a result of it. So any belief work, I think, is critical. Keeping your vibration high. So what makes you happy? What makes you feel good? So appreciation, gratitude. I always teach people, make a list of 20 things you love to do. Pet the cat, watch this show, listen to this musician, play ping pong with my wife, talk to my grandson on FaceTime, whatever. And then make sure every day you do 1 or 2 of those things so that you're feeling that rise of energy. One of my favorite things is comedy. So the only channels I listen to on my XM radio are comedy channels. There's about 5 of them all right in a row. If an ad comes on, I switch over to the other one and I laugh a lot. I hang out with people that are uplifting and positive and goal-oriented and spiritual and all that kind of thing. So I think those are the biggest things. And I'll just say one last thing. A couple of years ago from the Heart Math Institute, and they did a research on this. They always say, visualize what you want and feel the feelings of already having it. And why is that important, the feelings? So they did a research study at the Heart Math Institute where they took human DNA, and human DNA has a thing at the end, like a little shoelace, or it's a helical thing. And it's got a shoelace, which we call a telomere. And as you get older, those telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter. And when you get so old, they're no longer there. And then your DNA starts to unravel and it can't reproduce itself. And then you get old and die. So what they were working with was, could we, through the power of thought, unwind the DNA and wind it back up again? And what they did is they had these test tubes full of DNA and they had people intend to have the DNA to unwind. Nothing happened. Then they had people kind of get into a loving space, joyful, loving, passionate. Nothing happened. Then they said, we want you to visualize the DNA unwinding while you're feeling appreciation, gratitude, and love. DNA unwound. So what happens is the image has to be accompanied by the vibrational energy of a high vibration, which is appreciation, love, peace, gratitude, freedom, etc. And that to me is one of the most astounding and important experiments ever done. And these are all PhD people doing this stuff. So when you're wanting what you want to be in that high vibration. When you're bitching, moaning, and complaining, what's your vibration? You're down in the dumps, you're depressed, you're frustrated, you're irritated, So as much as possible, find a way to stay up here. It can be your practice when you're meditating, when I'm listening to comedy. There's laughter yoga where you just laugh, for like 10 or 15 minutes. And one other last thing I've learned recently is this very nuanced thing. Whenever you get impatient, you're focusing on the not having of the thing you want. So if I'm impatient, I ordered that a week ago, it hasn't come yet, or I want this relationship to work, which is not working yet. You're focusing on it not working. And whatever you focus on, you extend and you get more of. So anytime you're impatient, stop it. Change the thought to the perfect man is coming into my life. That money I want is on its way. It's challenging because we weren't brought up to think that way, but that's what's required to get the law of attraction. Let's call it on your side.
I love that. It comes back to just the power of thought. My buddy and I that were talking yesterday in a previous interview was talking about stress, and, we're talking about how to avoid stress, so forth and so on. And I shared with him a quote that I heard from Wayne Dyer. And he said, stress does not exist, only stressful thoughts. Right. And so it just comes back to how we're using those thoughts, letting it work in our favor, or are we letting it pull us down? And so,
the stressful thoughts will actually bring you down. The same people, when we say bring you down, make you feel bad, let's put it that way, and get in the way of getting what you want. And the Heart Math Institute, people can go there, it's just heartmathinstitute.com. What happens is that they show when you're in a state they call coherence, when you're in love and joy and peace and all that, your waveforms would go like that on this graph they have. When you're in frustration, it's going all over the place like this, and literally within 2 minutes, you can totally shift that from one to the other. And it's your thoughts that do it. And that produces the emotional response that produces the feeling in the body. We say we feel it, but it's happening in the body. Another one of my favorite quotes about all that is worry is just negative goal setting.
That's good. I love that. And one last thing about the law of attraction that I learned from you is while you feel these feelings, you think those things, the last 6 letters of the law of attraction is action.
I learned interestingly too, when I first realized that the word attraction, the last 6 letters are ACTION, was also satisfaction. The last 6 letters are ACTION. So if you want to feel satisfied in life, satis in Latin means enough. And the root word of faction, of factory, manufacture, is making. You make something, manus with your hand, like a manuscript you write with your hand. And so basically enough action creates satisfaction. So literally it's important to do all this work we're talking about, to tune into your intuition, which will then give you inner guidance as to what are the appropriate actions you need to take. And by studying successful people and the things that you want to accomplish, you can see what they do. There's 2 kinds of action. One is obvious. You want to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school. You want to be a realtor, you got to get a license, But There's also what we call inspired actions, which is when you're meditating or you're visualizing, you're focusing on, you're thinking, you're obsessed with an idea, whatever. What happens is you start getting these downloads. You could be in the shower, you could be laying in bed, you could be driving to work. You'll get this idea of like, oh, I need to do that. Whatever that is, do it, because that's your intuition that's been thinking about this while you were asleep, while you weren't paying attention. Creativity, we know there's what we call the incubation period. First, you think of the thought, you run out of ideas, you're exhausted, and then this incubation occurs in your subconscious for hours, could be weeks, whatever. And then all of a sudden there's this breakthrough idea you get, but you have to create space for it. So meditation is a way to create space for it. Walking, when you're, what we call it, mind-free, hands-busy time, driving to work, putting on your makeup, cooking, things like that. And all of a sudden, bam. And I can't tell you how many ideas I've had that I'll be in the shower and they'll say, write a book, call it Chicken Soup for the Soul, whatever. And because I followed those, I got successful. People said, what's your biggest secret to success? I followed my inspirations. I acted on them.
One of the things I share with people as it relates to that, I say those are gifts. When you get those downloads, those are gifts. And what GIFT stands for is God's inspiration for the soul. And when that idea comes to you over and over and over again, IDEA, is inspirations delivered equal action. So it comes back to all that you're sharing as it relates to taking action. Speaking of that download of wanting to move forward and has helped you is being in the secret. Talk a little bit about that, because I know that was one thing that intuition guided you through.
Yeah, I was putting on a conference in Colorado and Tana said, can Rhonda Byrne come and film people? She's making a movie about the law of attraction. And I first said no, because it'll interrupt. All these people will be pulled out of the meetings. Some people won't get invited. They'll feel hurt. It's like, it's just set up for not good. So that night I was meditating. I always meditate for a few minutes before I go to bed, like just review the day and sitting down you can pay attention to. And this big voice said, call Jed, tell her yes, so I did. And so Rhonda came and she filmed everybody, including me. And that probably made me another $2 or $3 million being in that movie. Just in terms of, there were these secret cruises, secret conferences where they would invite like 5 or 6 people, me and Michael Beckwith and John Gray and Lisa Nichols, to come speak and be part of this thing. I was just telling someone earlier today, I got invited to speak in Iran, in Tehran. Iran is normally considered axis of evil. It's an enemy of the state and all this stuff. I had to go to get the passport. I had to go to the Pakistani embassy. So I get this, I go there, and it turns out the reason I got invited, they had showed The Secret on national television in Iran. And I thought, how did that get by the Ayatollah? I did like, really? And we had 800 people show up with the first one and about the same amount for the second one. Very nice people. The government, I'm not so in love with, but the people were beautiful, and they just like me and you. I'm leaving the hotel one morning to fly back to Dubai to come back to the United States. This looked like about a 21-year-old's behind the desk, and he looks around and leans over and he goes, I love your country. I love your country. I love the music. I love the clothes. I love the movies. He's looking around like he's not supposed to be saying that, But because of that movie, The Secret, I got to probably speak in 20 countries I never would have been invited to speak at. So again, trust that inner guidance when it comes, listen to that voice.
In your opinion, what is the purpose of the human experience?
I don't know if there's only one purpose for everybody, and there may be. I think every individual has a purpose that they have to discover. The word discover means take the cover off of, not create. It's already in there, right? So it's innately, you're born with, like you call them, gifts. Your gifts are a clue to your secret, to your purpose. If you have this natural musical ability, and your purpose may have to do with that. And so some people are gifted talkers, some people are gifted with mathematical abilities, and some people are great therapists, chefs, and all of that. But I think if I had to say, is there one purpose, it would be that everybody lives their purpose such that the world works. I like to say, how do we get the world to work for everyone so that everybody's winning? And I think at some level, it's about the evolution of consciousness, that we're all evolving our consciousness and that we're all attempting to experience more joy. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants to be, to have the ability to express their their gifts, if you will, like we talked about. That's what the freedom part is, not just to do what they want, but also to express what they want, into the world. I was once asked that question by a guy who's very high energy up in Texas. He asked me that. He said, what do you think is the purpose of the universe? And I stopped for a minute. And I thought about the Big Bang and the universe. The only thing I know about the universe for sure is it's expanding, constantly expanding. May someday decide to contract. We don't know, but it's expanding. And so I said, well, I think the purpose of the universe is to expand. It's expansion. And he said, yes, expansion of consciousness, expansion of love, expansion of knowledge and knowing and wisdom. So I think it's about that evolutionary expansion. Then you can kind of put whatever word after that you want.
How will people know that they're on the right path to living their life's calling?
They'll get a letter from the government. No, I'm just kidding.
You're on the right path. Signed by the president. Yes, I am on the right path. Thank you, White House.
There you go. I go back to, I think it's about, are you happy? Are you experiencing joy? Are you enjoying doing it? Now, changing your baby's diaper isn't necessarily the most joyful thing on the planet, but if you're enjoying being a parent, then you're on the right path. Some people, they don't want to do that because they know they don't enjoy it. Maybe they babysat when they were younger. That's not what I want to do. I have a friend of mine, she's a body worker and she's amazing. Everyone in town tries to get him to see her, really challenging. And she got real clear. I don't want to have kids. This is my path. This is what I need to be doing. And she's really good at it. She's happy doing it. So for me, I'd say if you're experiencing joy and I think feedback, joy is internal feedback. External feedback would be people support you. They like you. They advantage of what you're doing. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes you're ahead of the curve. I was ahead of the curve with self-esteem in the classroom. Someone thought, well, this isn't what schools are about. They're teaching English, Now self-esteem, everybody wants it for their kids, but I think I felt happy doing it. So that's what I would say. I think if you're feeling joy, that's pretty much the feedback system at John Corson. Did a seminar yesterday with a woman named Zen DeBrook. You may remember her. She was something called your inner GPS, and it's your inner guidance system. And she shares, and I've been thinking about this a lot because I think she's right, is that when you think about doing something, if you feel an expansion from your throat down to your navel, like this upwards up, then that's the right thing to be doing. If you feel like that, then that's not the right thing to be doing. It doesn't mean there won't be a time when you will feel expansion, but it's not right now. She talked about procrastination in an interesting way. She said, some things are not yours to do. You think they are. And so you procrastinate, but really they're just not yours to do. But you never really give yourself permission to know that. Sometimes it's not the right time to do it because it's premature. And sometimes it'll come around later. And she had give all these reasons for it. I can't remember all the stuff, but like if you're procrastinating, stop, take a deep breath, ask yourself, is this mine to do right now? And if you don't get a big expanded feeling, don't do it. That's very scary for people too. I call it the art of allowing what's so, or the art of surrendering to what is, because we think we should do it, and sometimes it's not now, it's not me, it's not the right thing. And just to honor that, because we live up in our head too much, not in our body. And our body is like a giant feedback system that most of us have never been trained to listen to.
What do you think the secret to a happy life is?
I was going to say eating animal crackers. Yeah, I'm starting to get punchy now.
I'm buying animal crackers right after this interview.
No, I think we just said, I think the secret to a happy life is doing what you love and surrounding yourself with people you like. Everything you like the music you like, the food you like, the people you like, the things you like to do, places you like to go, and give yourself permission. I was down in the rainforest doing some plant medicine with a shaman last year, and someone said to ask the question of the medicine, what would you have me do? And so I asked that question, and the medicine said, wrong question. And I'm thinking, wait, I just got told I should ask the question. No, what the hell? Well, but anyway, I said, so what's the right question? It's not about becoming, because the question was, who should I become? What should I become? Who should I become? And I said, it's not about becoming anything. It's about stop being who you're not. And that was amazing to me. As simple as that answer is, I must have been floored. I must have laid there for 30 minutes. When like all the things I've done because I thought I should, that I didn't really want to, dress a certain way, wore a tie when I didn't want to. I went to events that I thought I should go to that I didn't really want to, whatever. So like now I do what I want, do what brings me joy. And I say no to that which I don't. And I trust that it's all going to work out because I trust me. I've had friends literally tell me they were about to get on an airplane. These are high consciousness people. And they said something in me said, don't get on that plane. And sure enough, that plane crashed. So we have that ability to tune in. Most of us ignore it because, well, then when am I going to get home and do a day later? And thank God you didn't get on that plane.
What do you know for sure?
I know for sure that everybody has a purpose. That everybody has the ability to fulfill that purpose, their heart's desires, if you want. They may have to learn something, go to school, partner up with people, get investors, God knows what. But you have the capacity. So trust your dreams. Take action. Don't give up. Chicken Soup for the Soul was turned down by 144 publishers. Did I give it up after 100? You and I would not be talking. No one would know who I was. I wouldn't have got invited to the session to talk where you and I met. The reality is that, if you've got a dream, hang on to it. A couple of years ago, the number one show on Netflix was a show, it's called The Queen's Gambit. And it was about this girl who was playing chess, learned to play chess. She started seeing the moves on the ceiling at night. It was a wonderful show. That guy tried to, I don't know the exact numbers, but it took him about 30 years when he wrote that script to get that made. Everyone said, no one wants to watch a movie about chess. He rewrote the script numerous times, etc. And then finally, he got a yes. But he hung in there. The guy that invented the air valve in your airbag in a car, 8.5 years, he lobbied Congress to get that made into a law, making no money during that time. They finally made a law. You have to have an airbag in the car. The next year, he got $8.5 million royalty from that part that he contributed to the airbag. So in retrospect, he made $1 million a year for 8 years, but he didn't get it until 8.5 years later, And I could tell you 20 other perseverance stories, but you basically have to believe in yourself, believe in your product, believe in your dream, and then hang with it. Now, sometimes you have to respond to feedback to tweak things a little bit because you may be going off on the wrong path. But in general, I would say never give up. Believe in yourself.
And last question before I get into a rapid fire Q&A. What do you want to be remembered for?
Someone told me the other night what they wanted on their gravestone. I think it was Warren Buffett. Was here lies the man who lived longer than anyone else in history, which I think it's a great thing to put on your tombstone if you did, actually. I just want to be remembered for being a loving, caring person who cared about people and wanted to contribute to their happiness, their joy, this ecological sustainability of the planet, social justice. He was someone who cared, and he took action on his things that he cared about. He didn't just sit around and feel it. So that would be basically what I want to do one day for. Yeah.
Rapid fire Q&A. Answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready, Jack?
You watched way too many episodes of The Actor Studio, but go ahead. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. I have some of those questions here. Here we go. It's actually like these first few questions, give or take, are from The Actor Studio. All right. What's your favorite word?
Love.
What's your least favorite word?
Hate.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I'm a little old, but I would have loved to have been a professional tennis player.
My favorite quote.
My favorite quote. That's a good question. The one that's coming to mind right now is one from Gandhi. And he said, if you want a GET, you have to ASK. Gandhi realized if he wanted the British to leave India, he had to ask them to go and then do the whole thing he did, which eventually led to them leaving. So that's a big piece of what I teach.
Mm-hmm. The Latin factor. A song that puts you in a good mood.
There's a song called I Made It. It's by I and Tones. And it's a theme song from a movie about a girl who at 16 sailed solo around the world from Australia. And it's the last song in the movie. And I download it. I've been playing it pretty much every day.
A book you'd recommend for people to level up their greatness.
Well, obviously the Success Principles. And then beyond that, if you look behind me, there's
that's what I was going to say.
I would say, you could read Homeless to Billionaire by Andres Pira. That's a great book.
Finish this sentence. I couldn't imagine living without.
Couldn't imagine living without my wife, Inga.
One of the best pieces of advice you've ever received.
Don't give up.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Write sooner. Write books sooner.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Barack Obama, because I really liked him as a president. I'd like to know what was motivating him. Buddha, because I think he had an amazing consciousness. And Jesus Christ, because I just love to know who he really was, because we got all this mythology and biblical scripture and so forth, but just to know and experience who the man really was or is, both ways.
What would you say is one question you'd ask them?
What do you think is the secret to life?
What does the world need more of?
The old song lyric, love, sweet love. And I think that's true. And I think listening to each other would be really cool, given we're not doing that right now. We're so divided.
What does the world need less of?
Just the positional anger that so many people feel. Listen, they're so convinced they're right without realizing that nobody has the whole answer. Everybody usually has half of it, and the other side has half. And you need to come together and figure out how to support each other. I mean, we need conservative values and we need liberal values. We need to be fiscally responsible. We need to care about people and be compassionate. So it's that level of coming together and working together that's missing.
What is your personal or professional motto?
I would say keep on keeping on. Just keep doing the work.
And one final thought for those that are ready to break through to the next level of their greatness.
Believe you can and start before you go to bed tonight. What's one thing you can do today? Take that next step.
Oh, that's good.
Let me tell you a quick story. So Jim Bunch, who was one of my partners and collaborators, co-leaders, and he was running a seminar called The Ultimate Life. And there was the 6 of us on the phone. He was coaching. And he said, so Jack, what do you want? I said, I want to be healthier and more fit. He says, great, put down the phone, give me 10 push-ups. I said, no, Jim, I'm talking about going to the gym, getting a membership. Jack, put down the phone, give me 10 push-ups. I must have fought with him for 2 minutes. And he was adamant. He wasn't getting off the phone to it. So what I learned from that was don't talk about it. Let's start now. Do something, and that was the beginning of take action, because we always want to put it off into the future, and that doesn't work. So start now.
Like W. Clement Stone said, do it now.
That's right. That's right.
So where is the best place for people to connect with you or learn more about your work?
Just go to www.jackcanfield.com. My name, Jack Canfield, CANFIELD.com. Find out all about our workshops, online workshops, live workshops. You're usually involved with our live things we do, our Breakthrough to Success. And then if you want to get the books, go to Amazon.com, The Success Principles and Power of Focus, Latin Factor. But yeah, our website has everything you want to know.
And for those that are ready to just attend a live training that's going to level up their success, I highly, highly, highly recommend you check out Breakthrough to Success. So like Jack said, make sure you go to the website for more information on that. Jack, I appreciate you. I always love connecting with you, and just our conversations are always filled with love, joy, and I feel so much lighter and brighter and want to share my light in a greater way. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Talk to you soon.